Hi there, Maria. Mariah. Sorry, I got it right there. I'm just setting up. I'm working on the astrodoodle right now, and then we can check in with everybody. I don't see a lot of people here at the moment. I know I got some bookings already lined up. We got a booking from Gregory and one from Tina, I think. We'll see. Let me see. I'm going to go over here to the astrodoodle. I've got to... let's see, get that sorted out. And let me go over here. It'll take, so give me a few minutes, please. Greetings and good evening, everybody. Well, it's evening over here in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. It is Sunday night around 5:15 p.m. or so, 5:30, I'm not sure. And we are doing our little Sunday night hangout. I got my cup of kava herbal relaxing tea because it's incredible stuff that is happening in the planets, people. Just incredible. And of course, how does that look in the world at large? Well, we're going to talk about that briefly. I'm just going to squeeze out the bag here, toss that over here somewhere. That'll work. And, well, talk about historical times in astrology. Where should I start? Well, I'll do what I usually do these days, is talk about the Pluto return. So, let's see if I can get a closer up vision here for you guys. Hello, Karen. Hello, Paz. Hello, Mariah. So, over here, this is little old Pluto. They don't even want to call it a planet. Can you believe that? But this is it has such a profound impact on mundane astrology and astrology for humanity. Okay, whether you're aware of it or not, that's what's happening. So right now, we have Pluto around whatever it is, 26, 27 degrees. And on about a week from now, let's see, what are we today, the 27th? Not even a week. In about 5 days, it's going to be exact on March 3rd, as far as I recall, for the exact Pluto return of the United States. Now, it doesn't match the Pluto return of the United States of 1776. You know, I'm just going to do another super quick mini astrodoodle for that. I've got other astrodoodles already prepared from other shows earlier, but tonight I just want to mention planet Earth. Okay, there we go. There's the astrology of the United States, keeping it super simple. I'm just focusing on Pluto. It has a Sagittarius rising over here. And the United States is born with Pluto about 27 degrees Capricorn retrograde. Now, because Pluto moves so slowly, the orb of influence of each degree can take months or years. So we've been talking about this for several years. We've been building up to it since 2008 from here. But now here we are in 2022. Okay, let's just call it the Pluto return, USA. Pluto return. So this is the only thing. So you don't have to try and figure it out from this chart. I'm just going to do a really simple description here on this chart. I'll use a different color just for fun. I'll make it blue. How about blue? Don't use that very often. So in 1776, okay, over here, 1776, on the 4th of July, this thing that we call the United States of America was born as a concept, as a belief system, as an agreement, as a declaration. Okay, it's a huge deal historically on planet Earth for humanity. So that was the 4th of July right there, okay? Let me see. There it goes like that. Okay, right there. Now all the planets zoom around this way. The North Node goes that way, but this is just about Pluto. This is a little illustration about the Pluto return for the United States. So people talk about solar returns and, Venus returns and Saturn returns. The famous one is the Saturn return. It happens for every individual aged around 29 years old, because it takes 29 years for Saturn to do its complete cycle to get back to where it was again in the charts to where you were born. It's the same thing with Pluto, but in the case of Pluto, it takes about 250 years, give or take a year or two. And so, what we're looking at is, here we are. My blue marker now represents Pluto over 250 years. It took 250 years to start from here at the Declaration of Independence, 4th of July, 1776. And this is roughly 60 years, roughly 122 years, roughly 180 years, and then roughly 250, something like that, okay? And here we are, right here, again. So it took 250 years to start from here and go all the way around here. Now, in that 250 years, we have what we call modern American history. Now, before 4th of July, 1776, America already existed as an entity, but it was fractured and it was disorganized, and it was just really a group of populations and colonies that were starting to collect themselves and organize themselves into what we now call the United States. And there was, I think, about 13 states at that time, and the rest of the United States was uncharted territory, still in the land of the pioneers, okay? Everywhere over here, everywhere was populated by Native Americans, and their whole legacy was destroyed. The white Europeans came in and did that. Anyway, here we are today. A new chapter in history is unfolding because the United States has managed to survive a complete Pluto crisis without imploding already. However, some of you might have noticed that all across planet Earth right now, there are massive convulsions happening that have an extremely uncanny correlation to the Pluto return of the United States. And why is that so? It's because back in the day, 4th of July, 1776, what was happening over here in the eastern seaboard was basically a war between these folks and these folks, the British and the British settlers, okay? And a few Europeans, but mostly British settlers. And these folks decided, we don't want to live under the thumb of this tyrannical British Empire, this demonic King George, whoever he was. We want freedom. King George at that time is behaving like Vladimir Putin is behaving today. He was a complete tyrant, and his sole way of advancing in this world was killing people, violence, and taking and stealing anything and everything they have, taxing people, and controlling everything through power and force and extreme abuse of violence. And these folks said, enough is enough. We're not going to play that game anymore. We're going to separate from you. We're going to call ourselves the United States of America, and we are declaring our independence. Thank you very much. And that was right here. 250 years later, the same storyline is unfolding inside with America, but instead we have a much bigger enemy. The enemy instead, at that time, the enemy was over here. This is early America, and this is the enemy. They broke off. And just as the forefathers predicted in 1776, there will come a time where the enemy will be within, when the government has become so corrupt and so powerful that your government will become enemy number one. And that is exactly what is happening today in America. So right now, we're at this critical moment in American history where the storyline is unfolding exactly as it did 250 years ago, where there's this highly unevolved shadow expression of Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto in Capricorn is very powerful. It's very effective in terms of business, organization, and power structure and management of power and organization of power. And so it works very, very well with government and banking and military and things like that, and politics, if it's done properly. But of course, over time, as with all energy fields, is imploding on itself. It started here as something beautiful and fresh, like a newborn infant. 62 years later, roughly, it reached its first quarter of the journey, where it was rapid, radical, unstable, and very volatile, but very dynamic and extremely successful growth. And it was the expansion of the Americas that we know today. On the second quarter here, it reaches a culmination point where things are optimal. So that is, let me get my calculator here. Give me a second. I just want to play silly numbers. Okay, so it's a little tiny calculator. 1776 plus 125 equals, okay, 1901. Okay, like in the late 1800s, okay, over here, the late 1800s, let's call it 1880 to 1910, this period here was in some ways the Gilded Age, what they call the Gilded Age of America, where everything had become absolutely splendid in the United States of America. There was huge optimism everywhere. The economy was growing and booming all across its own country and starting to go across the whole world. Over on the next 60 odd years here, we get into the very early 60s, okay? 1960, something like that. And at this point here, this is, okay, so we're going from step 1, step 2, step 3. These are very significant marker points in history. Around 1960, we had this is where the corruption, this is where the degradation, this is the optimal energy, and the degradation and the corruption starts to set in here. Okay? And this is, so we had the outbreak of World War I, roughly here, and then over the next 60 years we had lots of other secondary wars. Then World War II, roughly here, and then after World War II, a very short but rapid, very bountiful experience as America prospered more than ever before because of the success of World War II for America and the loss to the Nazis and communism. But those guys weren't dead yet. So they became, it coalesced into some really vicious, nasty, corrupt energy, which is most prevalent and obvious today in Vladimir Putin over in Russia. So we had the Cold War over here and nuclear threats, okay? Remember, over here, this is where like nuclear energy was discovered. Pluto was discovered roughly here on the calendar. And isn't it a coincidence that it's lining up with massive global banking perversions and expansion and the discovery of nuclear power and the abuse of power? And over here, roughly, this is where the atomic bombs were dropped over in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And from 1960 onwards, it's been war, 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 somewhere or other on the world, with America at the center of it. And America tells the storyline about how, well, we got to protect American interests. And that's true. But America had also started to get a reputation for being very destructive of anybody that it doesn't like. And what they did was they weaponized the US dollar. Over here is when, on the clock here, over here, 1913 is when the Federal Reserve banking system became rooted in America. And that's when the corruption and the evil started. They worked through the global financial system, the American banking system, and it expanded. It got so powerful. Then after here, they discovered, like 1971, my God, we don't even need real money anymore. We can just print money. So they took it off the gold standard, and everything went berserk. Inflation, 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 which works really, really great for the banks that are printing the money. But ultimately, if you study this stuff closely, you'll realize what's happening is you, the people, we, the people, are being herded onto a debt farm where we are debt cows. We're living on a slave camp to feed the corrupt banks and banking system. And most of these wars happened here in collusion with the banks and the oil and gas industry to try and maintain American power through violence. And they did a very good job. America became very prosperous, but in a way, this is a period of decadence. This is where the corruption began. This is where the corruption is exploited to the maximum, especially around here. And over here, it was just amazing. America seemed to be like this unstoppable, amazing force. But it was all fueled by greed and corruption and violence, which is the abuse of power, the abuse of Pluto. Pluto is all about power. Power is indiscriminate. Here's an example. Here's the power. I can use my hand. My hand, I can turn it into a fist, okay, and just hit my way and punch my way through life through brute force, raw power. Or I can look at life from a different lens, and you can use your hands as instruments of healing, instruments of the healing power of love. You can create, you can do art, you can do music, you can do ingenuity, crafts, construction, all sorts of beautiful things. Cheers, everybody. So here we are today. The cycle is now complete. The completion of the cycle actually started being felt on Earth around January 2020, okay? January 2020. And this period that I'm talking about right now, the USA Pluto return, it's going to be felt across Earth on a very, very wide orb of influence because Pluto moves so slowly. It's going to take 4 years to go from here to here. I'll show you. 4 years. Another couple of years to go from here to here. It took 2 years to go from here to here. It's going to take 2 more to go from here to here. And all of that, in terms of astrology, is a very tight orb of influence. It's just a few degrees. And eventually, in early 2024, Pluto will be here in Aquarius. And that's when things are going to get really crazy. It's going to be global revolution. Everywhere on Earth is going to be connected to everywhere on Earth through the global banking systems and internet and global media systems, okay? Especially the internet. Aquarius represents the internet. So this is going to be roughly a 22-year journey. So it's time to start planning. That's why I put it in my notes. This is a 22-year journey, okay? And this sector represents the rebirth of the United States, but is in a very different manner. So it means the death of the old United States and the birth of the new United States. So if you haven't noticed it yet, I can assure you what's happening is, hello Ivona, I see you. Everyone on Earth is waking up, whether they like it or know it or not. People are waking up. That's the job of Uranus in Taurus. Where is that right now? okay, over here. The world is waking up right now because Uranus is in Taurus. It's a very earthy, highly tactile, very perceptible energy. So we see it in terms of like climate, volcanoes, hurricanes, extremely unstable, erratic weather, and the desire for freedom. In terms of human beings, it's an extreme desire for freedom. So when Pluto goes into Aquarius here, the main theme for the next 20-odd years is going to be freedom. Human rights. The right for each individual to be their own unique self in the context of community. In other words, we the people. The whole theme of the United States is going to be reborn. And it's all going to be about we the people. Okay? So there you go. So the show's not over, because what's happening is everybody on Earth is realizing, my God, what's happening in America is spreading all over the world. Okay? And the reason that's happening is because technologically and with electronics, internet and everything, the American culture has been propagated across planet Earth. Now, of course, there's lots of other cultures happening simultaneously, but the dominant culture, as most keenly expressed through power, abuse of power, money, corporations, and a classic pyramid of power, okay? I call that the elites, or you could call it whatever you want. But it's the people at the very, very top of all the biggest global corporations who are seeking to create one world, a new world order that is literally one leader, one ruler over the whole of planet Earth. It would be just like a massive China, where you have no rights, no privacy, no freedom. You will be deluded and hoodwinked into believing that it's the best thing that's ever. You will own nothing and you will be happy. We will just send you money, and it's digital money, and so long as you behave according to the way we like you to behave, then you will get your money. If you misbehave, we will take your money. Okay? It's very, very dangerous. It's a very, very dangerous megalomaniac agenda that these elites have. The most famous of all those people at the top is this fellow called Klaus. And so some of the most evil people in the world are deeply in bed with Klaus and the World Economic Forum. These are facts, okay? It's not misinformation, malinformation, or disinformation. These are facts, okay? So anyway, things are happening, people. So let's look at this. Hello, Kathy. Welcome to the show. I've never seen you here before, but you're welcome, of course. We usually just have a really tiny crowd of a handful of regulars. So it's really kind of interesting and quirky when newbies show up. So look at this. This is the chart for today. And of course, things change rapidly. Just yesterday, the moon was over here in Capricorn. Now, that was a huge stellium for like 2.5, 3 days. The build-up of the moon, and then 2.5 days later, the journey of the moon through Capricorn. So that added extra power and fear to amplify the shadow side of all this energy here, most represented by Pluto in Capricorn, like 27 degrees right now. Now, it happens that Mars is conjoined Venus, and these are all conjoined very, very tight. And during this period, over the last 3 days, as most of you know, there's been a breakout of major war in Ukraine. Okay, over here. Some of you probably have heard all about it. There is the Ukraine. Okay, right there. This is the borderline, okay, roughly. There's Russia, controlled by communist leader, and there's China, the other communist leader. These are the most evil regimes in the world, along with what's happening in a few other little pocket places around the planet, here and here. And these guys, Vladimir has gone absolutely berserk. He's literally blown all his fuses, and he's using just pure violence to do what he wants to do and try to get his message across. He's literally a thug acting out his fantasies. And it's not going very well. The cry for freedom is happening all over the world. Vladimir can't stop it. China can't stop it. These guys here and here, they want complete, absolute, totalitarian control over planet Earth. These guys, as you know, they are buying up every commodity on planet Earth. They are sucking planet Earth dry for all the commodities like wheat, soy, oil, cement, gasoline, natural gas, fruits, vegetables, meat from all over here, all over here, all over here, all over here. It's all getting shipped over to China. There are so many countries and politicians who took the bait and they're deep in bed with China, and there's going to come a time where they're going to regret it. But anyway, it's amazing how these things kind of pan out. The moon is already in Aquarius tonight, so the scream for freedom is going to become even louder, okay? There's Mercury, so the screaming, and the Saturn is like the I told you so theme about Aquarius. If you don't behave properly over here, all the people with power, things get very, very bad. And so the people at the top are looking around thinking this is crazy. I think they're absolutely in denial. They're not aware of their insanity. It's literally when power goes wrong to that degree, you're talking about insanity. 4 planets in Capricorn around 27 degrees in shadow behavior, that's absolute war. That is war, war, war. Okay? Mars conjoined Pluto is war. It's always war unless you already have evolved enough to handle the Mars-Pluto conjunction in whatever sign. Here, it doesn't matter, but especially in Capricorn because it's so much to do with expression of power. And that's what's happening right now. The warmongers couldn't help themselves, so they are mongering war all over planet Earth as much as they can. There's so much evil and war being perpetrated by China on some of these places here. And if you watch the news very carefully, don't be surprised if you see China starting war against Taiwan. Okay? Actual hot war. Guns, bullets, planes, dead people. It's already happening here. But it's going to be very difficult for China to do that because the whole world is watching. Everybody's watching you, Vladimir. Vladimir is hiding out over here up in Moscow, okay? There's sunny Moscow. Well, it's freezing winter over there right now. But he is isolated. There's nobody on earth who wants anything to do with him because he has shamed the whole of humanity. The same thing is happening with Xi Jinping over here. And it's really ugly and brutal. And you can't stop the stories evolving. It's happening right now, live. The beautiful thing is, of course, the cry for freedom. The cry for freedom is going across the whole of planet Earth. So right now, all these countries over here have been extremely reluctant and lazy over the last 60 years or so to get involved in any warfare. They're very scared of war, understandably, because there's been so much war in this area of Earth for thousands of years, okay? But eventually enough is enough, and all the people... Let me see if I can go in there tighter. Come on, map. Come on, cameras. Let's do this. Anyway, I'll see if I can do it like this. Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Great Britain, France, Germany. They're all sending arms to Ukraine. Tons of money is flooding into the Ukraine people. Over here in Poland, a lot of money is being sent into Poland to take care of the Ukraine refugees. So here's something I'm going to share with you. A lot of this stuff. Good evening and welcome, folks. Hello, Tina. Yeah, this is an extremely let's say, poignant time in astrological is all the shadow sides of these energies are being expressed, because it's such tight, these are such tight stellium that it's hard to control that energy. And when the moon transits this, it makes it like everyone becomes vulnerable to their raw animal emotion, which is that the lowest level is fear. So it is profound fear that triggered Vladimir to say it's time for war, and now he's doing it. It's all based on fear, because he is a thug and he's absolutely terrified, and the only way he knows how to solve problems is by killing people. So that's what he does. He's one of the world's most successful murderers. He's also a thief. And anyway, so the moon is going to be here for about 2.5 days. Then it's going to be here in Pisces for about 2.5 days. So there's going to be a lot of volatile emotions flaring up across planet Earth with cries for freedom. It's going to go all over the internet, everywhere. Vladimir's going to try and stop it reaching Russia, but he can't. Everybody in Russia is already watching through the internet. And then when the moon gets into Pisces over here for a few days, the whole of planet Earth is going to see for itself how grotesque and perverse things have become on planet Earth with the abuse of power and the laziness of we the people who have not really found ways to challenge or take down the power. But when things get violent on a large scale and your whole country is under attack, you get to a point where you don't have an option. You're going to pick up a weapon and you're going to do what you have to do to defend yourself. All the males in Ukraine were ordered to stay behind. Some of them got out, but they've all been ordered to. The Ukrainians are doing an outstanding job of protecting and defending themselves. I'm just going to say hi. Greetings. This is Terra Lumination. Hi. Sorry, I got really carried away there. I think this is because this is historical, what's happening. There was World War I, World War II, and then there's the Cold Wars after World War II, and lots of, let's say, very ugly battles, like with Korea, Vietnam, all of the Balkans, I think in the 90s. I'm not a war historian, so please don't quote me on any of this. And then all the Middle East wars. A lot of those wars were, let's say, on purpose for financial gain for the United States and for the corporations especially, okay? Yes, Tina, I got it. I'm going to put the post-it notes up soon. Hello, Sarah. So what's happening right now is that everybody in Western Europe kind of went, huh? I can't believe this is happening. Of course, I'm sitting over here going like, duh, what did you expect? Anyway, we're luckier on this channel because we got my astrodoodles. They help. It's like you can get a glimpse into how things are working behind the scenes. So anyway, Vladimir he's totally lost it because he's literally operating on emotion. He wants to leave this planet, leave planet Earth with a legacy of being seen as the most all-powerful male ever in existence. The way he's doing that is with thuggery and violence and murder and theft. It's like being like a Colombian drug lord gang leader. You know, they do that by killing thousands and thousands of people and taking their money. Anyway, so it's not very pretty when you look at it on the shadow side. But if you look at it from a really, really detached, broad perspective, you realize that this is beautiful. This is a work of art. This is literally humanity evolving in front of our faces. And we're witnessing it. These are huge evolutionary moments in history, like definitive moments on the clock. History is marked by dates and time. And there's probably some really high-powered astrologers who can delineate every major historical event and how it correlates to the astrology of the time. I'm just an amateur, but to me this is pretty obvious. It's right in your face, so you can't avoid it. So the kind of punishment that's happening, it's a little too little. It's not too little, too late. It's just enough, just in time. But it really should have never happened in the first place. But anyway, what's happening, all those countries in Western Europe are now realizing, my God, if we do not send guns and bullets and anti-tank missiles and tanks and logistics support like food, tents, hospitals, backup support to keep the fight going for the Ukrainians, then we're all gone. Because if Vladimir can take Ukraine just like that, which is what he was expecting to do, that means the whole of Europe can go. He's literally lost it. It's just like a massive, insane power grab. It's like a thug going berserk in a bar fight. Anyway, the other thing that they're using, that they're like talking about, how are we going to like give Vladimir the message that you're being very, very bad? So we've talked about global finance on this channel. They're talking about instituting the lockdown on the SWIFT system, which connects all the global banking operations across the world. They're going to shut down Russia. We'll see. I'll believe all that when I see it. And they've also the SWIFT people and the World Bank have identified 200 people at the top of the Vladimir's power inner circle, who are all oligarchs and thieves and criminals, just like Vladimir, and they're going to sanction those guys individually through the banking systems as well. So what effectively is going to happen is something like this. Hold on. It's very, very sad for the Russian people, because the Russian people are very much like the Chinese people. The Russian people are hardworking, passionate, loving, caring individuals who want a good life. They want freedom probably more than anyone else on earth. The same with the Chinese people. They want freedom more than anyone else on earth. We already have it over here. We were spoiled, and now we've exploited it. And these folks over here, headed by Joe and his company, are trying to take the freedoms away from us, okay? So I put Joe in the same bracket as Vladimir and Xi. But anyway, sadly, with the defense measures that the rest of the world has to take to help Ukraine, it means isolating the Russian people from the global banking system, which is going to cause extreme hardship. And that's very tragic for the Russian people, because there's about 1,000 people in Russia who are the oligarchs at the very top here in Moscow. And there's about 140 million actual Russians. The actual Russians are the ones that are going to suffer. Their standard of living and their, what do they call it? What's that? Producer blah blah index or whatever. Their ability to spend money and the value of their money is going to plummet dramatically. It's going to be as bad or almost worse than China. So it's very, very bad. The beauty of this thing is that it's actually happening. It's like the whole world is going. Some people are calling this the start of World War III. I'm not sure I would say that, because a lot of these folks don't want World War in that way. But in terms of the financial markets, yes, you could call it World War III. Anyway, I've already been watching closely what's happening over here. I had to take a break, of course, for tonight. But there is a glimmer of hope for the Ukrainian people, because almost everybody on planet Earth is supporting the Ukrainian people some way, somehow. And that's very good news. It's very bad news for Vladimir. And so we're already seeing the positive side, the healthy side of human self-expression over here. The emotional aspect of Moon in Aquarius conjoining Mercury and Saturn in Aquarius for the next 2 days. It's outrage. It's outrage about crimes against humanity. Okay, this section here represents the outrage of crimes against humanity. The crimes against humanity being perpetrated by the oligarchs and the thugs at the very, very top of the global system. And that includes Joe. Okay? Now, here's what's very strange to me, but I have a perspective that might make sense. We've already talked about this harsh aspect here, where there's a lot of pressure on the global system, global financial system, to radically change in such a way that the legacy, highly corrupted system must go down. It must collapse, and a new order must prevail, and that's going to be the cryptocurrencies, okay? It's going to take 20 years for that to happen. The beauty with these like multiple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sextiles here, 1, 2, 3, 4 sextiles here, is that it's very harmonious for planet Earth, for humanity. The way I see this, however much evil is being perpetrated over here by Vladimir, it is triggering an incredible outpouring of love and compassion and understanding, sympathy for the people whose lives are being destroyed over in Ukraine. And interestingly enough, I'm just going to add this other one here. This is good for human evolution. Sorry, it's in Taurus. The North Node is in Taurus. A lot of our lives are measured in money. Do we have enough money to live? Do you have enough money to be happy, have food, travel, get through the day to the next day? So the North Node is in Taurus. And our job now as humanity is to evolve to these new higher standards of financial, let's say, representation for we the people. And even though what's happening today is very ugly, which is basically this energy here, this extremely powerful conjunction here, Mars and Pluto, that's basically war. It's an unevolved expression of Mars-Pluto. What's happening is we, the people, are recognizing it and realizing, like, wow, we really do have the right and the obligation to declare our God-given rights for freedom. And that's a good step for the evolution of humanity, if you look at the North Node in Taurus as part of the fundamental evolution of humanity. So guess what's happening in America? Simultaneously, this is where Joe has a huge problem. The Canadian trucker rally has already sent its message across the world. The American trucker rally is now picking up steam, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of trucks crossing the United States from every corner of America, and they're all aiming for right over here at Washington, D.C. Okay? Right. I don't know, you probably can't see it on this, but it's right there. So some of you are already aware that Washington, Joe has already, Love Tribert pointed this out to me just before the show. Joe and his company, they have put massive concrete barricades all around Washington, D.C. with massive heavy fences and razor wire, just like a huge prison camp. On the other hand, they've ripped open the borders over here, and they're letting anyone and everyone in, especially thousands and thousands of criminals and highly undesirable folks coming in across here. There's some lovely people too. But you have to understand, Joe works for these people. Okay? He's part of the cabal, and his job is to do whatever he can to destroy America as much as possible, as fast as possible, before the Americans are aware of it. But he's already aware that, by March 3rd, remember March 3rd is going to be the Pisces new moon, right over here. Ha 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 ha. And what's going to happen is we, the people, are going to seriously outnumber a few hundred or maybe 1,000 elites over in Washington. And the huge spotlight of Sun in Pisces conjoined with Jupiter in Pisces is just going to amplify the lunacy even more. We're going to see it on the global news. It's not there yet, but it's going to happen, where the independent news, like on YouTubers and TikTok and so on, they're going to be broadcasting the American trucker rally in Washington. And it's going to be very, very difficult for Joe and his people to deal with that stuff, because there's only a few of him, and there's thousands and thousands and probably tens of thousands of the truckers. And I guarantee you, most of the cops and the military and the National Guard are on the side of the truckers already. Here's one thing to note. The reason why I say that is because back over here in back over there in Ukraine, about 3 hours ago, a bunch of Russian soldiers were captured by the Ukrainian volunteer army. The soldiers were not killed. The Ukrainian soldiers said to the Russian soldiers, "Listen, guys, what the hell do you think you're doing? What the hell? You guys are insane." And the soldiers were kneeling on the ground. They were hog-tied, zip-tied, and they were very ashamed and very sad, like, "We don't want to do this. We did not want to do this. Our president lied to us. Our chiefs and army, colonels, they lied to us. They told us we're going to go play around in Ukraine to test the waters, and we're going to treat it like an exercise." And then the Ukrainian guy said, "What? Are you kidding?" And then the Russian said, "No, that's what we were told. We had no communications with the outside world, only with our commanders. And then we didn't realize it until we entered the northern city, northeast of Kiev, that we were actually going into a war zone. And so when you guys, the Ukrainian soldiers, started shooting at us, we were completely shocked and taken by surprise. We were not prepared." And then the Ukrainian guys went, "Oh, so that's why it was so easy for us to destroy your trucks and take you down." And a lot of Russian soldiers were killed and died. So it was very, very disturbing. So it's kind of what's happening in America as well, and what happened in Canada as well. There's a certain amount of, like, the American military, the American National Guard, the American police, they're going to be commanded and ordered by Joe to go and shut down the trucker rally in Washington, D.C. And there'll probably be some skirmishes, but most of the National Guard and the cops and the military don't want to do that, because they sign an oath to protect the Constitution. And Joe is telling them to break the Constitution. So things are going to get very interesting and very volatile. And we haven't even got into Pluto and Aquarius yet. So we're going to see a lot of instability over the next 2 years. And then when it gets into Pluto and Aquarius, it's going to amplify even more. So it's time to prepare now. You need to start preparing now if you're not prepared, okay? All right. Anyway, I think I've done enough ranting. Gosh, I kind of went berserk overboard there. I'm sorry. Hi-ya-ya. Give me a second. Cheers again. I like the rich bits at the bottom. Anyway, I hope I didn't scare anybody away on the channel. It's been very quiet in the chat. Maybe it's just because I just got too loud and too, you know, too obnoxious or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to help people. I just want to keep people informed about what's actually happening. Facts, truth, okay? So, we already got a booking from Tina Miller. Let's do that over here. Thank you, Tina. All right. And we also got a booking for from Gregory Ross. Okay. Now, I can handle maybe 2 more readings, so I will put this here, and I've got another book all ready to go. So I will kind of like set these up here in case anyone's interested. And I have to talk about this because I have to try to keep the channel going. So if you're new here, if anyone's out there new, you're watching, but you've never seen or done anything like this before, and you would like to have your own personal live mini reading, it is done by donation and it will be done in public. And so you have to be comfortable with doing sometimes things that are very sensitive and personal in a public setting. But I'm usually pretty diplomatic. I don't set anyone up for a fall. I don't try and trip people over. I don't. If something comes up and I can feel it inside of me that it's very potentially unsettling, then I will say that, and I will encourage to have a separate private reading on the side. But anyway, Precious. Hello, Precious. It looks like you just arrived. But anyway, let me just go back here again for a moment. Precious wrote to me earlier today, personally. She's having a rough time, okay? Precious is up there in Edmonton area of Canada, as far as I know. So it's extremely cold. Extreme cold. And the last time we spoke last week, she was struggling just to get eggs. And she's got, how many kids do you have, Precious? I forgot. Is it 2 or 3? Anyway, Precious asked if I could put the word out that we could all pray for her, that we could find some way, I don't know how to help her, whatever. Maybe donations or something to her, I don't know. But something, I think a lot of it, wait a minute. I think Precious has some pretty sensitive Capricorn elements in her chart, if I recall. And so she might be one of these people who is really feeling it in a very, very personal way. Anybody out there on planet Earth who has any kind of significant aspects or like planets in their chart in Capricorn, if anyone's out there who has planets in Capricorn around the 27 degree mark, I'm talking 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees, you're going to feel this pressure. You've been feeling it for the last 2 or 3 years. You're going to feel it for 2 more years, but we're right in the middle of it right now at the 27 degree mark. And some of you know Precious has been with this channel since the very beginning. I don't understand that word there. 3, 1 disabled. Okay, so 3 kids, 1 disabled. I can't read the other 2 words. I don't know what that says. Sorry. Give me a second. So, disabled after an accident over a year ago. Oh, that's nasty. I'm sorry. So, I don't have any kind of immediate plans or suggestions, But there's one thing that seems to be working quite well for these big mass media events right now for the Freedom Rally people, like the American truckers, the Canadian truckers, the Ukrainians. What is happening is that places all over social media and professional fundraising sites, there are people who are raising money, which again is a very egalitarian, humanitarian thing for people in need. Now, Precious is a single mom, I believe, with 3 kids and 1 disabled, and she is deeply in need right now, and she has reached out and asked me for help and support. I can't just write a check. I'm trying to keep my own life together as it is. But maybe we could talk about this another time. That reminds me, by the way, I'm planning to host a live gathering next week. It will probably be March the 2nd, the eve of the Pisces new moon. I'm going to do it on my Zoom system. And for anyone who's been there before, anyone who's ever had a personal reading with me, it's basically like you and me here now, but we're in total privacy. We can see each other and talk to each other. And there's going to be a few people there who we haven't seen in a long time. So that could be fun. Maybe we could discuss something like in a more serious manner where we could find a way to help with Precious, because I've been disabled myself, and I've had years and years of physical and financial support from people because I was unable to take care of myself at all. Luckily, I've recovered, but it was a long, painful journey. So I do understand to some degree. I also understand the problem with major car accidents. I've been in quite a few of those, no fault of my own, and it's very, very crippling. And then you have to go through all the recovery, financial, physical, emotional, and everything like that. So let's figure it out. I'm just putting the message out there, okay, Precious? So let's do this. Hey, everybody, whoever wants to come next Wednesday evening, the 2nd of March, 2022, 5 p.m., Pacific time, just like we do here, but on a Wednesday, and it'll be on the Zoom. I will send that through the Tarot Illumination Constant Contact email list, like an email blast, and you'll have the link, and I'll also probably do like a mini reminder video and put the link in there. And then anybody who wants to show up can just click the link and you can join in, okay? So, sorry, I've been ranting for hours. Jeepers, man. All right, let's do this. So if anybody wants a live mini reading tonight, especially if you've never done this before, number one, you can use my PayPal. You can use your PayPal. Send money directly here. A little book about at yahoo.com, like $10 or something. And it'll show up over here. I've got multiple monitors, and I have to double check everything as I go through the show and so on. The other way you can do it is you can go to, let me see, where is it? You can go to tarotlumination.com over here. Look. You can go to tarotlumination.com, click the donate page, click the donate button, and then there's a payment processor. It comes up. You swipe your card through there. It takes your money. It goes direct to my PayPal. And lastly, the other thing you can do is super chat. Sometimes we get super chats over here. They're very useful. But Google, YouTube takes some of the money. But still, it's better to have it than not have it. So if anybody wants to do super chat, there's just where you're typing in on the chat on the screen, there's 3 little boxes underneath. One is a circle smiley face. One is a graphic graph. And the other one is a $sign in a box. That's the super chat. S. $sign in a box. Click that box. It opens up the super chat payment processor. You swipe the money there. It comes straight out on the screen on the chat. It's amazing. So we've only got 2 readings tonight, so maybe that's all we're going to have. It's thirsty work, people. Maybe it's just going to be a short night, or maybe it'll be average night because I just talked too much. I don't know. We'll see. All right, Tina, you're up. How are you holding up, Tina? Do you want me to just do a blind reading? Hello, Karen. I'm just checking, folks. Okay, Mariah, there's Karen, there's Pat, there's Ivona, Kathy Seal. Hello, Kathy Seal, welcome. Tell us about yourself. Where are you viewing from? Are you still here? Sarah, hello, good evening. All right, okay, so it's very quiet in the chat as well, so we'll just leave it as that. When we do these live mini readings, sometimes people ask for a particular theme to be addressed. Some people just want a complete blind reading, and just whatever the message is whatever the message is. So Tina is used to this. She's been very supportive of the channel over the years. Thank you, Tina. And she's used to having blind readings because you have no idea what's going to come up. And sometimes it's just exactly what you need to know. It can touch a nerve or a subject that, needs to be addressed. But we need to bring light and love to the subject. So I'm going to shuffle up this particular deck, and then we're going to go, okay? Tina wants a blind reading. Her emotions are all over the place. Okay. Now, if I recall... Well, look, it's already a dead giveaway. You can even see it in the chat. If everybody looks over in the chat, you will see that Tina has declared Capricorn Moon with Scorpio Sun. Emotions are all over the place. Well, it's the Capricorn Moon, okay? So look at it this way, Tina. It's no wonder. If you're born with a Capricorn Moon and you've been dealing with emotions that are all over the place, isn't it interesting how the moon has been transiting Capricorn for the last 2.5 days? It's only this evening that the moon just moved into Aquarius, so you might get a little bit of relief, okay, Tina? Luckily, you're here right now. Capricorn part of fortune, okay, that's good. But a lot of times with lunar energy, with the moon, the transits of the moon, the very, very first thing that we feel is the lowest frequency, which is fear. So, let's say you're born with a Libra moon, okay? And the moon comes over here, eventually it transits Libra. Chances are you'll get shifts and rumbles and feel like emotionally sensitive, kind of like losing it a little bit. Or more emotionally vulnerable, more emotionally unstable for about 2.5 days as the moon moves through your lunar sign. So with Tina, it was Capricorn for 2.5 days. So again, we blame it on the planets. So hers is 3 degrees Capricorn moon. So she would have felt it very early on, like two days ago. I would say, Tina, chances are it's over. You're already in the recovery. You know what? My voice is very, very fragile at the moment. I got to tell you, everybody. So I might not be able to do more than these 2 readings as it is anyway. If someone else wants one, I can have one, but I think I'm already going to cancel out on number 4. Sorry, I don't like do that. I need every amount of support I can get through the PayPals and donations and everything. But I can't destroy my voice or my throat. It's just too much. So Tina, let's just take a broad overview and just keep it really ultra simple. What kind of messages do we have for Tina tonight regarding her life? Okay, not her emotions, not finances, not her location, not Ava the dog, not global politics, nothing. Just her world and her life. The whole purpose of her massive relocation was to center herself in the solar energy. where everything becomes secondary to the solar energy, and you get to start to appreciate yourself at the level of solar energy. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody gets the chance. A lot of people operate through their Mars, or their unevolved Mercury, or they're crippled by Saturn or something like that. It just depends. But for everybody, it's so important that, let's say, if you're really astrologically, let's say, self-conscious like I am, I work very, very hard to try and integrate my whole life in every way so that everything works through my sun sign. And so, even though I'm taking everything else into account, you have to honor the sun sign, because in a way that's a condensation of everything for you, down to the degree, okay? Yes, Tina, it's very hard to watch Ukraine. It's very strange to me, the Ukraine story, how it's unfolding. It's very different from all the Middle East wars and the oil wars over the last 20 years, the Cold Wars in the 1960s, and all the other wars that have been going on. I mean, there's a lot of little, very small wars that go unreported, like in Central Africa, and Myanmar, and up in Tibet, and it's just, anyway. I think the difference is that the war in Ukraine is basically being live streamed by dozens and dozens of live streamers with their phones and their cameras, because oddly enough, the infrastructure inside Ukraine is still active. They still have electricity and internet, which to me is very strange, given the situation in the war. Also, during the Middle East wars, that was the very, very early days of YouTube, and we didn't have the mass global coverage of social media and TikTok and that we have today. So we are seeing the brutalities and ugliness of war on as though we are right there with the people. And you actually see how frightening war really is. It isn't just something glamorous you put into a video game or chat about, in the news hour in the evening. It's very ugly, it's very dirty, it's very painful. It leaves scars for generations and trails of blood and death in its path. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people have already been killed in the Ukraine war, and it's only 3 days old, okay? Tina, we can talk about that. Let me get you your reading, okay? It's about freedom. Why is no country standing with them? Well, that's the thing that I've been watching closely. And I have some answers for you, Tina, but let's do your reading. Remind me, if you can, to get the answers out. All right, what kind of messages can we bring here for Tina tonight so that she has a better grip on her life and she's not such a victim of emotions or the shadow aspects of planets in, those parts of ourselves where we do not have 100% mastery. And we are all fragile in that way somehow. Oh, it's tricky. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Excuse me. Here's how to handle it. And let's have a look at the surrounding influences. Of course, I always revert to the planets, but I like to think that there's anything and everything out there. So we've got the Ace of Cups. This is all about love, okay? The healing power of love. Love as an energy field. Love is as love does, okay? Where's the love? Well, the love is there. How's it going to be expressed? in wartime, how is love expressed? Love is as love does. Going back to Scott Peck, he wrote the book The Road Less Traveled. His definition of love is quite interesting. Let's see if I can share that. Scott Peck, I think he's still alive, was a military doctor in the wars during after World War II, and he saw a lot of blood and guts and death. And so he has a very unique perspective on love that you don't see in the yoga books and the self-help books and Bibles and Qurans and movies. Okay? His concept of love is that love is a very active energy field. It's like a force field, and we are swimming in it all the time. But are we aware? And the way that love flows is by conscious activation of love, where you make a decision. Be loving. Okay? Now, being loving often, from the way Scott describes it, often implies serious inconvenience and discomfort. It's nothing to do with getting laid or finding a date or cuddling up with, your favorite pets or family or whatever. That is one expression of love, but at the very far end of it, in his world as a doctor, as a surgeon, basically cutting off arms and legs and trying to patch people up from war, he realized love is as love does. And love is the active, willing, conscious decision to deliberately go out of your way, out of your comfort zone, to deliberately help someone else and incidentally yourself to evolve and grow by delivering that love energy. A lot of people need to learn how to love themselves. That's actually some of the hardest thing to do. A lot of people like being generous, but sometimes they're resistant to receiving. There's, of course, other people who like to take. Me. But anyway, his point was that, let's say you're a pregnant mother, or you're a father, and you've got a newborn kid, and everything was going great for a while, and then you had a car accident. How are you going to take care of that baby? Love is as love does. So you have to find ways, very, very uncomfortable journey, to find out how are we going to do this. You might have to stay up very, very late, way past your bedtime, in order to care and nurture for a loved one. That's an act of love. And you do it willingly and with kindness and with generosity. That is an act of love, according to Scott Peck. Especially because you're going out of your way. Sometimes it kind of changes as you morph up through the layers. Once people get used to being loving, it becomes a natural instinctive behavior to naturally extend and express love to others. Some people do that as their default setting. Some people don't. Some people are very reluctant to love because it's actually very inconvenient. Anyway, let me go back. My feeling here, Tina, to me this feels like it's a really simple encouragement that love is there, but the question is, because it surrounds us all the time, we are swimming in it, it's a permanent fountain of love. It's always flowing. The question is, are we ready, willing, and able to tap that, to enjoy that, to receive that? Okay? So it gets very, very personal. There's a declaration that I like. It goes like this. I am worthy, I am deserving, I am open to receive. I am ready, I am willing, I am able to receive love, the healing power of love. the flip side of that is, oh my God, am I worthy? Am I deserving? Am I open to receive? Am I ready? Am I willing? Am I able to receive? So you understand, it's like a faucet. It's like a switch. The love is always there. It's like an energy field. It's literally the energy of love, the energy of heaven. And you can either choose to receive it, or you can choose not to receive it. In other words, when you choose not to receive it, for example, when you see all the horrors of war, you might be under the impression that love does not exist anymore, especially if it's right in your face and you're seeing friends and family dying and they're covered in blood and you've lost your life, your home, your house, your apartment, everything. Okay, good evening, Gregory. But the love is still there. And interestingly enough, on planet Earth tonight, right now, the love is there in extreme hyper abundance. It is flowing like Niagara Falls, like Victoria Falls, okay, just like this. The love is there, Tina, okay? It's very tragic what's happening, but the love is there on an astronomical scale. And we're going to see that more and more over the next few days, the next few weeks. The beautiful side is going to become apparent in a few days. When the moon enters Pisces, conjoins the sun and Jupiter and then Neptune, the positive expression is that everybody on earth who is loving and wants to be loving and wants to be loved, you're going to witness on a global scale the flood of love, pure love, that is coming out from humanity to help the victims of the oppressors. Okay? That means the Ukrainian people are already receiving an avalanche of love. Okay? It's happening right now. So it is hard to watch, Tina, because we're seeing live war in front of us. We're safe here in the United States for now, so it's not a worry, but it's gruesome, especially if you have Ukrainian blood or family in Ukraine. It's tragic. It's terrifying. So what's the situation itself? Okay, so Tina, that's all I want to do is reassure you here that the planets are highly, highly favorable to loving and being loved. It might not be in a way that makes sense, but love is there in astronomical abundance. In Ukraine, it's happening with the flood of help and support that's coming from the rest of the world, even though it doesn't match up, Tina, to your question. You have a very valid question. We'll come back to that later. Your situation itself, it looks like heartbreak. So again, most people know who've been to this channel, Tina is highly compassionate by nature. She can't help herself. She made the large bulk of her working life as a ICU nurse, intensive care unit, where her job was to take care of people in a state of tragedy. People who came out of accidents and so on. So you can imagine what's happening in some of the little miniature makeshift mobile hospitals in Ukraine right now. Tremendous amount of pain and tragedy and suffering. And Tina, since you have basically taken yourself out of that work for the time being, you're probably still sensing it, but you're not, it's not your day job anymore, but you still feel this, okay? Tina is saying there you're German. Okay, so there is some serious tragedy. Okay, I'm just going to dive in. Give me a second. Very briefly, the whole of Western Europe, that's part of the NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, they all have this code of behavior, and it's all done with gentlemen in big offices in Belgium and so on. But they've reached a critical mass right now. They are at a point of critical mass with what's happening in Ukraine, because what Western Europeans, especially the Germans, usually the Germans are the ones who were so scared ever since 1945 They're so scared to do anything militaristic because they can't afford to be judged. They don't want to be judged for being violent, maniacal Nazis. They suffer deep shame from that. But we live in different times now. We have moved on. We've evolved. And so it started kind of in a cascade where pretty much every NATO country realized, holy jeepers, we got to do something. We can't just sit here waiting for a certain legal article to qualify exactly to our code. We need to send guns, bullets, trucks, doctors, food, missiles, rocket launch grenades, everything we can. We need to send it to the Ukraine soldiers right now. And the Germans are like, well, we can't actually send our military, but we'll send you a whole pile of guns. They're going to, I bet you they're going to start sending in fighter jets and air support. Okay? Money is already flooding in from all over the world through, like the humanitarian, whatever they call it, charities, World Bank and everything like that, to help the Ukrainian refugees. So a huge outpouring of love is happening, but it's a little like, it's very awkward, it's embarrassing because it looks like, for the first 48 hours, NATO was doing nothing. They're just sitting there watching like, this is very embarrassing, this is very awkward. We've got NATO, we can't do anything until Article 5 has been triggered. And then they realize, holy shit, screw all that, we need to go. We need to help Ukraine now. So that's what they're doing. Yeah, Tina, they're deliberately firing on hospitals, little schools for kids. They're doing everything to inflame the emotions. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting what's happening. The Russian soldiers are doing it because they have to. Otherwise, they're going to get killed when they go back. So it's a very ugly, very tragic perversion of power. Anyway, Tina, the situation is that I think you're perhaps feeling it directly in a very personal way. The pain and the tragedy. The grief about what's going on over there. Because you're hardwired for compassion. So it makes you highly vulnerable. What's the problem here? Well, that's already a problem. Okay, it makes me feel like the problem here for you, Tina, is like, oh my God, where is this going to take us in the rest of the world? Where is the rest of the world going to go from here? What's that going to mean for me? You've already just recently gone through huge life changes, and now the world itself is going through astronomical, huge morphs, changes, irreversible historic changes. The Pluto return, Pluto 27 degrees Capricorn, is affecting the whole of planet Earth because it's working through the United States. And a lot of what's happening in Europe is like collateral side effect between the relationship of the United States with Russia. We're not directly at war, but Ukraine is right in the middle. So Vladimir is using the Ukrainian people as his punching bag, as his scratch pole. Also, I think another thing with this Three of Wands here is shock. Literally like shock waves of bombs. Do you see like the ripple effect here in the background, right from his head? It's not his head really, it's in the background in the sky. But if you've ever been very close to very loud explosions or guns or bombs, it's absolutely terrifying. There's a reason they call it shell shock, because it marks you for life, okay? There are all the little kids in Ukraine now who are marked for life with shell shock. Luckily, kids are resilient and they will grow out of it, but some little kids are dead. So it makes me feel like with the Three of Wands here, it is a shock. One of the problems that you're dealing with, Tina, is the sheer shock of how the world could come to this What are the seeds that humanity planted 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300 years ago to get to this point in humanity where there's 7.5 billion people on Earth, and there's a few people like Xi Jinping and Vladimir. The only thing that they can think of doing is killing. That's what they want to do. You would have thought human beings would have figured out, but they can't help themselves. Some human beings are hardwired to kill, murder, death. That's how like Hitler, that's how they express themselves. That's how they express their energy to life in the world around them. If I don't like you, I kill you. It's the easiest, most effective way to solve a problem. If I don't like you, I'll just kill you. Okay, and once you do that, once a thug does that, most people run very, very far away. Most people don't want to be near thugs and murderers because they could be the next victim. So this looks like shock as a result of the tragedy. And there's a huge question mark here, frightening question mark of how did humanity get to this point where this is the destiny that we have created for ourselves. So much grief, so much pain, so much suffering. So how are we going to deal with this, Tina? Okay. Seeking refuge. What I see here is take care of yourself, Tina. It's really so important. Take care of yourselves and the people and the loved ones closest to you. Literally. That would probably be you and the dogs right now, plus a few people here on the channel. We can love each other by remote, okay? Love moves all across the earth simultaneously. That's how we do remote healing. So, with the Six of Swords here, to me this might sound like a cruel message to you, Tina, but it's almost like with the shockwaves going on in the background, with what people are calling the start of World War III, it might be an idea to insulate yourself and heavily restrict the amount of news and social media that you're watching regarding this situation, because really you'll end up in a negative feedback loop where you're going to perpetuate your grief and amplify your sorrow and trigger your compassion to the point where you're literally like bleeding out. It's almost like you are actually one of the victims and you're bleeding out and all the love just oozes out, okay? So this is literally like, there's no sign of luck here, but this is opportunity. You could call that a form of luck. Please understand, love is being amplified across planet Earth probably more than any time in history right now. The intense outpouring of love towards the Ukrainian people on a global scale is outstanding, and it's only just started, okay? So yes, it's tragic. Yes, it's terrifying and shocking and confusing. But we're not dead yet, okay? We're just going through growing pains in human history. And in your case, probably the hardest thing to do for a compassion junkie or a compassion person by nature, where your day job is compassion, is to detach yourself, at least to some degree. Detach yourself and just focus on your own life, your own needs at the moment. Like literally minding your own business, not in a rude way. I'm not saying, Tina, just mind your own business. I'm saying, Tina, it's time to mind your own business about you. What's good for you? What do you need for you right now? The most loving thing you can do right now is to love thyself, okay? You might not be used to that because, especially a professional compassion junkie, they're not used to it. And then having the concept of like, TL, you're telling me to take all this energy here that I just naturally share with others and point it to myself? And I'm saying, yeah, well, why not? At least a portion of it. Please direct some of this energy. It's out there, But it takes an active, conscious act of will to direct the flow, okay? Putin is directing this energy field, the energy of love, into a very tragic, ugly, brutal war. But the same energy field is being used to love. So it's like a switch. Be loving, be loved. Don't be loving, don't take advantage of this. Then you can basically, it's like you're creating a scenario where you're guaranteed to suffer pain and loss and tragedy just by watching all these strangers suffering so much. And it's terrifying because it affects the whole world. Okay, Tina, I hope this helps. This might not look like it's much support, but really, it's seriously about, let's say, almost like detaching yourself emotionally, okay? And looking at things from a rational perspective. Basically, come and hang out with us next Wednesday, and we'll try to put some reason to all of this. So we're not victims of the fear and our lunar transits. How about that? Let's put it that way. Okay? Big Dog 514. Love you all. Take care. Okay. Thank you, Big Dog. I'm over about the last 1.5 months. Oh yeah, hey Tina, yeah, with investments. So let's jump on that right now. So pretty much the global financial scenario is very, very frightening right now. The Standard & Poor, the stock market has gone from there are crushing losses happening on the global markets, the global stock markets. Crushing losses have been happening with cryptocurrencies. It's losses everywhere. It's not the end of the world. This is just cyclical, okay? It's not just going to go blah. You have to also understand regarding the finances, a lot of it is correlated very closely with the American stock market, the American Pluto return, and the American Federal Reserve banking system, which has propagated its model all over the world. And all the other central banks in the world have to play the same game or they die. The American Federal Reserve has basically weaponized the US dollar. And they've taken it so far that it's now starting to backfire on them. And that hurts everybody. And the Federal Reserve and the federal government in the United States don't have an answer. They think they're going to get out of this and create a whole new global financial system by creating CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, where the money goes direct from you to the Federal Reserve. It's not cool. Not cool at all. And so luckily there's a parallel financial world starting to grow that will allow some people to live a parallel life, a parallel world where you are no longer a slave to the Federal Reserve. You're no longer a debt cow, or at least you can reduce that. But not that it's much comfort, Tina, but pretty much everybody is hurting right now with their portfolios. Look at Fidelity, Vanguard, Eaton Vance, BlackRock, all those big multi-trillion-dollar funds. They're all down in the dumpster, all of them. Those are the funds that look after your funds that are supposed to be there for you for Social Security, retirement, pension plans. Like if you work for 30 years in the government, where's your government pension going to come from? And so on and so on and so on. Okay? Yeah, by the way, I don't want to talk too much about cryptos or finance tonight. I want to kind of get on with the reading. But if anyone's interested, I've been doing huge amounts of homework on cryptos. And I've learned a lot. I'm willing to share. We can talk about that on Wednesday. Okay? In the markets, they say buy low, sell high. So there's another expression: you buy when there's blood on the streets. Question is, which stock do you buy? Which asset do you buy? Because eventually things will recover. Okay. All right, let's go back to the stage. Goodness. Do you realize I've come this far on the show without a sip of whiskey or red wine? Isn't that amazing? Well, it's been water and tea. But I can't resist. I don't want to resist because it's part of my health plan. I'm going to get a glass of red wine, everybody. Okay? Thank you, Big Dog. I'm looking at like the pretty hearts and the smoochy faces. Thank you very much, Big Dog. Let me clear this spread here, Tina, okay? Remember, this is just a snapshot. This is the Tarot Lumination mini reading. And I just hope that helps you come to some like place of peace to get through the next few days, okay? Tina, it's going to be 5 p.m. my time, Pacific time. So I think you're in Mountain time, so it'll probably be 6 p.m. for you. Central time, it'll be 7. Eastern time, it'll be 8. And I don't know what it's going to be for the rest of the world, okay? No, I'm not going to drink coffee at this time of night, Tina. I won't be able to sleep. I have a little cup of McDonald's coffee in the morning, early in the morning, and that's more than enough for me for the whole day. I just need to clear the deck, okay, Gregory? And then if you guys give me a few moments, I'm going to go and treat myself to a beverage. I'm going to shuffle some more when I get back, but I really need to get on with that beverage right now. So just hang out there, chat amongst yourselves. I'm not going to be gone for very long. I just need a few minutes to grab my stuff and kind of go for it. Yeah. There you go. I did it. I made it. Path Traveler, good evening. Taylor is an hour behind you. It's 6:45. Grape juice and water. Ha 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 ha. For some reason, okay, I'm back. Anyway, I just want to say thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tina. I hope my little mini reading helped you in some way. But again, let me do this over here. Sorry. Yeah, this is an open invitation. Whoever's watching, Wednesday evening, 2nd of March, on American time, Pacific, 5 p.m. I'm going to host this little Zoom meeting. Okay, they're a lot of fun. Some of you've done this before. I used to do it on a regular basis when I had my active Patreon crowd, and we were raising money and all these fun things, and I was trying to help people with all these like very weird advanced self-healing practices that are literally the healing power of love as expressed through the hands. Okay, remember the hands are holy. Okay. Thank you, Gregory. Let me read the notes on the chat first. Let's see, Gregory, this I could ask, what can I do in this time of change, Ukraine? Okay, all right. But think answer would be the same as Tina. Mind my own business, yeah. Well, literally, now some people, it's like I've been asking myself, what can I do with the trucker rally? I don't have any disposable funds, so I can't just go out for a few weeks and spend thousands of dollars sitting in a car or renting a car or a truck to go and hang out and protest. And no, it's not even a protest. It's a rally. It's a freedom rally. Okay, like they say, mandate freedom. The people who are going on the rally are putting up thousands and thousands of dollars of their own money and days, weeks, and weeks of their own time. I'm not in a position to do that, so I'm going to do the best I can from here. I'm going to literally mind my own business. That means take care of myself as well as I can, and I'll support what I can, how I can, where I can. And it's the same thing with Ukraine, okay? Maybe there will be some kind of site set up where I could put a couple of dollars or something like that, and it'll provide a meal for a child. Who knows, okay? So, yes, Gregory, I will be sending out a group email, okay? So, I would be great if you could make it, Tina. I agree with you, Precious. A TL counseling and also the retreat fire is needed, very badly needed. My channel was essentially crushed at towards the end of 2018, so we're living off fumes. We just bumble along now. But some of you know that I have these wild, crazy ambitions to have a beautiful piece of property, which some people would call a retreat or a sanctuary. The other day I found something, I do my own fantasy wishful shopping on the internet, and I found something beautiful in Kentucky. Oh my God, it was just beautiful. 8 acres of land in rolling hills, deep, rich Kentucky grass, okay? Very rich soil, very beautiful environment. Very rural. The nearest city would be Louisville, Kentucky, about 2 hours north, okay? And on this acreage, there is a beautiful log cabin for the family home, with a nice big fat porch, and around it, because there's 7.5 acres, so there's a lot of room. There was big fenced-in area, very pretty fencing, where you could have your pets and your animals. Then there was a secondary home, which was kind of like a lodging that was attached to a similar kind of piece of fenced-in land, which is basically already partly built as an animal sanctuary for injured animals and rescues, to have a safe haven for for the rest of their life. And then there was a little other outbuilding that's used like as a craft area or a barn or a shop or a little tiny events place where you could run as a little business. And then the rest of the acreage was grassland, which is, they mow the grass regularly and they sell it to all the horse farms. Really, really the best hay in the world and the best grass in the world comes out of Kentucky. So I looked at this place and I was just salivating. Just salivating. And what's interesting, the price of that place, 7 acres, like 2 homes, the price of that place was like $250,000. Now, I don't happen to have that. But I did try to raise it. I didn't get very far, as you can tell. But over here in Las Vegas, a single family home, like 3-bed, 2-bath, garage, and a 1/4 acre, you're looking at like $350,000, $370,000. Okay? And you go to Los Angeles, if you go to where my old neighborhood was, you get an 1/8 of an acre with a little cottage for $2 million. You can't go, it's insanity. But anyway, yeah, so I was salivating at the idea of like, oh my God, there's enough room. I could put 5 little tiny homes out in the back, and I could send out invitations to all of the Terra Lumination Love Tribe. And they could come and stay and visit whenever you like, and you can receive healing and good food, good company, art, music, writing, singing, dancing, and healing. I still want to do that. I just don't happen to have, $250,000 or $350,000 at my disposal. But anyway, who knows what'll happen? Cheers, everybody. I'm glad you can make it, Tina. So mark your calendars, folks. Wednesday, March 2nd, okay? Oh my God, Pat! Oh my God! Oh my God, that's incredible. Look at the notes on the screen, people. Okay, so dogs will be welcome, absolutely. And your kitty cats and your parrots, your goats, your sheep, your fish, your turtles, your llamas, turkeys, all of it. All right, so anyway, Gregory, here we are. So I know you're concerned, okay? And some of us are wondering what to do. Like, what can I do personally? What can you do personally with the thing in Ukraine? The best thing, number one, love thyself. Take care of yourself, because that'll put you in the strongest position for when it comes to a point where you decide, well, maybe there is something I can do. Maybe I can send $10 to the, I don't know, whatever it is, the Red Cross if they're working over there. Who knows? I don't know. If you have actual family in Ukraine, maybe you could send them money by PayPal or through cryptocurrencies or something like that. All right, Gregory, let's see what's up. What do you need to know? Okay? All right. Let's just cut it up nice and even. Well, that's not very even, but I like to break it up. All right. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges, and here's how we're going to handle it. Now, Gregory, too, is just allowing me the wonderful gift to be able to go, just go blind. What's the story unfolding here? What does Gregory need to know? And he mentioned Ukraine. Let's put that on the side, but what does Gregory need to know? Okay, here we go. So, liberation, redemption, hallelujah. I think this is, the hope card is, very much associated with liberation and freedom, but this is also a call to freedom. This is, to me, this looks like the energy of, like, in terms of your reading, Gregory, to me it looks like the Judgment card is, this is the energy that's happening to humanity right now. It's almost feels to me, this is very, I've never had a reading or a feeling like this ever. To me it feels like the Judgment card is like the scream and the demand for freedom all across planet Earth. And it's becoming so big and so loud and impossible to avoid, impossible to ignore, that people all across planet Earth are kind of stopping in their tracks. Whether you're in Africa, South America, Central America, Canada truckers, American truckers, parts of China and Russia where you can sneak in social media, Australia, New Zealand, India, very open society there. They're starting to look at their phones and they're going, oh my God, this is incredible. The energy of liberation, the demand for liberation, the demand for freedom is going global. Extremely hyper vocal as well, by the way. Mercury and Aquarius. And it's going to be a very tough lesson, very hard lesson for the oppressors, because they won't be able to stop the screaming, crying, yelling cause of freedom. It's the freedom rally. So my feeling here, the moment I saw the card, Gregory, to me it felt like almost like I was transported, my whole body was transported inside of you, where I got to feel what, if you're not feeling it, what you needed to feel, as if I was you. Okay, so what it felt to me was that, like, there's this part of you, Gregory, which is kind of like this, like, what the hell is happening on planet Earth? Now, it's triggered, first of all, by the Canada trucker rally, now the American trucker rally, but especially Ukraine. It's exploding. The screams for liberation and freedom are exploding all over Earth. And it's like, you know what happens at a public event, Gregory, when, like, you're kind of going along with the crowd or something, and you kind of get sucked in, you get drawn into something, and you're like, it's like an energy field that's bigger than you. It's bigger than anything. And you're in it. You're right in it, and it's flowing in and around through you, and you're part of it, but you're also like an impartial observer. So it's almost like you're detached from your body, and you're watching yourself observe the world. Does that make sense? You're watching yourself observe the world, okay? So there's this, it is so shocking because it's so big and it's happening so fast. And it's, to me, it's very, very welcome. But it's in a way, just because of the scale, it's also kind of shocking. So you end up in this position of, like, literally, like, dumbfounded, like, what the, like, you've lived a good life, Gregory. You've seen the news. You've been, America has been through all sorts of wars, in and out. And we start all over again. America is convulsing right now. We all know that. Some people don't. But we here at the Tarot Lumination channel, we know that America is going through a profound death in order to rebirth. Okay? That's what's happening. And we're swimming in this energy field. We are participants and we are observers. So the point I'm trying to get across, Gregory, is that it's like, what do they call it? Dissociative energy. It's like when you have I don't know if you've ever been in an extremely like traumatic situation, like a car crash or a gunshot or a fight or something highly traumatic and completely random, where you, in your physical body, your life is suddenly on the line and you weren't aware. It happens with car crashes especially, or spontaneous robbings and killings. But what happens in these events, the body goes through these bizarre dissociative phenomenon where it's like the soul parts company from the physical body. And the soul is over there. There's the soul of Gregory Ross. Let's just say it's over here. There's the soul of Gregory Ross observing the physical body and the physical life of Gregory Ross. So there's you, and there's you. That's what happens in dissociative, like in dissociation. So that's the energy that I'm trying to describe here, that I'm sensing for you. Like what's happening on Earth is triggering this sense of dissociation where like, you are outside of yourself, observing yourself. It's a very well documented and recognized phenomenon, okay? In the last, probably 50 years or so, they've probably understood it now more than ever before. Give me a second, Gregory. I want to see those notes from Path. It might be right. Yeah. So I hope that very bizarre interpretation of the judgment card makes sense to you, because I think that's the energy field that we're talking about that is out there and around you right now, and you can't help yourself. And it's a perfectly natural reaction to an extremely violent and shocking, deadly event that's happened in the last 2 or 3 days. And you're feeling it personally, just like Tina, as though it's happening to you. What's the situation itself? Okay, so with the 9 of Pentacles here, it's almost like you've already realized, like, oh, man, I need to take care of myself. I need to make sure that I got my SHIT together. In fact, that's what I'm doing. The 9 of Pentacles is literally all about consolidating power in order to optimize and maximize the bounty of all your work, effort, and labor, especially at this point in life where you could say it's for your whole life's work, your whole life's legacy, where it's time to look at yourself as a solitary entity. In other words, you, Gregory Ross, not you, Gregory Ross, the attorney, or the part of the family of this or that, or the dreamer who wants this or that to happen, but just Gregory Ross in your physical reality, which consists of you and your physical body, plus all the tangibles that you literally own around you. Property, money, assets that may not look to be valuable, but could have significant value down the road, and then creating a legacy. So with the 9 of Pentacles, it feels to me here like what's really important right now is business. Yes, you might be surrounded by the shockwaves of what's happening around Earth right now with Ukraine, but the real situation is that for yourself, the most important thing is to mind your own business and create a state of financial, physical, material, health-wise stability where incrementally more and more and more you go on this path, the less you have to answer to anyone else, or the less you have to be at the mercy of someone else's energy. And instead, it's time to, if it means you have to seriously downsize in order to get rid of excess debt, or to offload any kind of physical material burdens, however desirous they might be, if it's weighing you down or holding you down, or if it actually is a liability. Like, for example, a car is a really good example. I don't know if you're in that situation. I think you have an older vehicle, perhaps a used vehicle, but like the worst thing you could possibly do is buy a new pickup truck, a $60,000 pickup truck on a auto finance loan. That is the worst possible thing. It might be something very desirable that you would like to have, or a really nice SUV. And because you're in America and you can get debt and loans, fine, so you would have that thing, but it would be crippling financially. So instead, what I'm sensing here is to go deeper into the physical realities of your life and offload anything that is a liability and maximize your assets, whatever they might be. Now, it's easy for me to say that in this reading. It's maybe not so easy to do in real life. But that's something we can talk about. Perhaps we can address these issues on Wednesday. What's the problem here? Oh, to me it feels like the real problem is there anyone to share this with? Like, it's almost like, thanks TL, I see what you're talking about here. I got to get my act together, got to consolidate my finances, my resources, and start to cultivate a life in a world that is actually, it's almost like creating passive income through investments or something, Instead of chasing money, making your money work for you. Okay, there's a huge difference. And then we get to this little part here, which to me is highly unexpected, but if you're feeling it even in the slightest, like, is there anyone there that I can share this with? Is there anyone where I can love and be loved as a person, like me, Gregory Ross? Is there anybody out there for me? No matter what kind of relationships you have right now with people in your life, to me it feels like deep down at the core of your heart center, there's a part of you that's wondering, like, am I a viable candidate for love? Is there anyone out there who is a viable candidate for love who would be a good match for me? Am I a good match for you? Can I help and heal you in your life journey going forward? Can you help and heal me in my life journey going forward? Now, this doesn't have to be a sexual encounter of anything like that. It doesn't have to be love and romance. This could be a very pure and pristine kind of platonic energy where the love is felt at such a deep, profound level that the biological aspect becomes irrelevant. And so, if that is the quality of love that deep down you might be seeking, and that's what your heart really wants, that could be a tremendous relief, because in so many ways it can be a huge weight off your mind, body, heart, and soul to get away from the expectations of romantic love or physical, like, love type of thing. And instead, about the kind of love that happens when you are loving and you are loved. In other words, hey, let's say there's somebody in your world, in your community, where, like, you know what? I'd love to just hang out with you. Do you want to come and meet up for a cup of coffee? Just to hang out. I'm not going to hit on you. You don't have to hit on me. Okay? It's just going to have coffee together, okay? So you might be feeling like the lack of this right now. Like, oh my God, I would dream if only I could have that, what you're talking about, TL. Because honestly, I can vouch for you, the purity and simplicity of this kind of love can actually be more rewarding and satisfying than anything to do with the more three-dimensional aspects of love, where you're like dating, sex, marriage, more sex, babies, marriage, more sex, and then all the expectations and the frustrations that come with it. Because sometimes people have such huge expectations about three-dimensional love, and then when it doesn't come out as expected, you can end up very brokenhearted. It doesn't have to happen, okay? So, how are we going to deal with this? Because these are not mutually exclusive situations. Each card here, to me, has come out with an extremely different reading. It's almost like each card has nothing to do. There's no connecting of the dots here at the moment. The cards feel very isolated in the energy, the way I'm sensing them here. And what I'm trying to do is read them in their full energy, the own way, in the way that you need to understand for your benefit. But this is not unfolding in a typical tarot reading where everything like flows like a story. These are like completely separate themes, but I guarantee they are all entwined, okay? I might not be very good at expressing it, that's all. So how are we going to deal with this? Okay, so we've got the Fool card here. And you know how I was just recently talking about the word expectations? About how people have so many expectations about how love and love relationships work, about how money and finance works. And a lot of it is to do with conditioning. How were you conditioned as a child? How are the other people in your life, especially when it's love interests, how were they conditioned as children? Because that carries with you into adulthood. Same thing with the finances. How were you conditioned in your childhood and your youth regarding the subject of money, wealth, and finance? Okay? And so condense all of that, and what does that look like in your world today, right now? Well, it looks to me where like with this Fool card here, to me it looks like a complete, it's like making a decision, like, you know what, I'm just going to throw myself at the mercy of the fates. And I think this is very closely aligned with the Pisces new moon that's coming up very soon, okay? I think it's March 3rd. Let me just check something. Where's my ephemeris? Oh, I can't find it. Hold on. I got to check a few more sources. I've got a bunch of astrology stuff right here. Give me a second. Yeah, okay. So, technically the new moon is on Wednesday, the Pisces new moon. And because I hope you don't mind me sharing, Gregory, but everybody in the audience, I'm just letting you know that Gregory has a significant Pisces theme to his astrology, because we've worked together very extensively, okay? So I just happened to recall that, and I'm sharing that with the public. So my feeling is that this Pisces new moon is very, very important for you, and it's going to be a huge stellium, okay? There's going to be the sun, moon, Jupiter, and Neptune, all really close to each other. So it's like jump-starting a new start, new life, new beginnings, okay, with the Pisces theme in your life. And my feeling is that this is just like, you know what? You just jump from the diving board, okay? I don't know if you've ever done this, Gregory, but I invite you to do this. Go on YouTube and see if you can search some of those videos about high dive. There are people who do these insane high dives. It's It's terrifying, but it's also extremely exciting and beautiful and liberating, because they've already figured out, even though it looks terrifying from where they are on the end of the diving board and the water is way, way down there, they already know through simple gravity that when I jump from here to here, I'm just going to go in a little slight curve like this. Sploosh. Now, of course, those kind of divers, they've practiced many, many times. But it takes a lot of courage to just go, you know what? I'm just going to jump. Ah! So, it's like, what's that Pat said? Buy food that will last, get cash in your hands. Right? Got it? Okay, Gregory. It will be your freedom moon. Okay. So, I can't do it right now because if I try to access those videos right now, my computer is running so many bits of software simultaneously that I can't load it up with anything more. But I could source something for you, and hopefully if you can visit on Wednesday night, which will be the Pisces new moon, then we can look at one of these videos. It's mind-boggling because the video is taken like, you know, from one of those like GoPro cams. So you see the dive happening and you see the water down below. It's like only this big. You think, how the hell am I going to land in that pool of water and not die? What happens if I end up on the concrete over there or on the building over there? Well, the diver already knows that that's not going to happen. But it looks really scary, okay? So my feeling here with the Fool card for you is to understand that, you know, this is an incredible golden opportunity to just, it's almost like look at your whole life from a new perspective because of the high degree of dissociation that is happening with you right now. Because of global events, personal events, friends, family, career, health, your whole life experience up to this point, let's just say it's all consolidating into this little tiny mini reading here tonight. And in the way to go forward is like, okay, so I'm not going to go over the storyline I mentioned about this. I'm not going to go over this again. I'm not going to go over this again. But how are you going to deal with these very, very disparate energies that are showing up simultaneously in one reading? You basically see it. Okay, look at the Pisces energy. Sometimes the Pisces energy is incredibly hard to navigate or understand. Where is the meaning? Where is the direction? Where is the energy coming from? Where is it going to? And it's like the energy of, what is it? What do they call it? Where it's the dissolution. It's the 12th house, the 12th sign, okay? So it's like, it's where everything goes to die. I'm not saying die. I'm talking metaphorically. But what I'm saying here is just like, it's like an oh gulp moment, like, I don't really have any options anyway now I think about it. I'm just going to simply step over the edge. And I'm going to trust in the great beyond. Gravity will take me where I need to go. You could call it fate, or your trust in love, your trust in divine guidance, your trust in having been loving, that you are loved, and that there's a whole new life awaiting you. Cheers, Mr. Ross. Yeah. I wish I could. Let me see if I can do a little sketch here. I don't think I illustrated it properly. I can't help myself. Gregory, what I'm talking about, and I've seen it on this video. There's one particular video. See if I can try and illustrate it. Up here, this is the tippy end of the diving board, okay? And there's the person standing there with their feet right on the edge. Okay? But you can't see any of this because their GoPro camera is strapped to their head. But what you see is their feet and perhaps their knees over here. And then down below, you see what is in fact a huge swimming pool. I'm not talking about the divers who jump off these huge cliffs. I'm talking about the divers who dive into an actual pool. Now, from up here, the pool looks extremely tiny. And all around the pool, there's seats and hotels. There's a hotel over here, houses here, buildings, the clubhouse, blah, blah, blah. And there's people on there with their umbrellas and people with their benches and sunbathing and everything. And this pool is absolutely huge. But from up here, through your GoPro cam, this pool looks very, very tiny. And I've seen these videos where the person here, I don't know if it's a real dive. I think you would kill yourself if you dived from there, head first. But you could just jump. You could go to the woof and then sploosh. And they end up here, dead center. And of course, way down there, it's just a tiny little speck of your body hitting the water. Okay? It's also known as the fuck it bucket. Just let go and go with it. Anyway, that's kind of what this sounds weird. This is an illustration of my interpretation of the Fool card for you pertaining to the rest of this reading. In other words, it's going to be very hard to understand any of what I said about the Two of Cups or the Nine of Pentacles or the Judgment without some kind of radical risk-taking where you literally abandon yourself to radical, I would say, selfhood. Where you go, you make a commitment to yourself, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. I can't save Ukraine. I can't save everybody in Ukraine. Maybe I can do something. I don't know. But in the meantime, I got to take care of me. I got to take care of me. Okay? And you might not be used to hearing this kind of message on such an extreme level. You have the right, it's almost like you are part of the collective energy. I talked about with the Judgment card. It's the call for freedom is so universal, so big and so loud, and you are sucked up into it as part of the collective. It's kind of like being swept in the crowd, where you don't exist anymore as a person. You're just part of this massive collective crowd, but you still are you, and that part of you dissociates over here. It's like being in your own little drone, the Gregory Ross drone, and you can observe and watch your life as it's happening through dissociation. And what it's telling here in the message is just like go for it. Dive into life. Dive into it. And trust. Life doesn't really work without trust. Trust is at the very fundamental core. When the banks, and they call it Fidelity Vanguard Trust, trust is the core theme. For Bitcoin to work, you have to trust it. You have to believe in Bitcoin. For Hex to work, you have to believe in Hex. You have to trust it. For cryptocurrencies in general, for love and relationships, you literally have to trust and believe that having extended your love to another and having witnessed another extending their love to you, those are good examples and indicators that you are loving and you are loved. But you have to be vigilant. It just keeps going. You constantly have to be vigilant and start every day anew. And it's just in this case, with this particular Pisces new moon, it's very significant for you. All right, that's it. There you go. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Well, for better or worse, there's no more bookings lined up, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, it is Looney Tunes, Sarah. Total, utter Looney Tunes right now. I like your notes there, Path. You know what? Yeah, it says the protest, unfortunately, is going to bring more oppression to the USA. Yeah, Joe's going to pound it down. He's going to try and act really big and tough. Joe is just a communist puppet for the cabal. Okay? Please understand that, people. The script is being written for him. Thank you, Mr. Ross. It was a pleasure to read for you. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much, everyone. I am going to give me a couple seconds here, and I'll be right back. Okay. Blind reading for myself. We're all going to be okay. 10 toes down, everyone. Yep, I got it. Give yourself a reading here. Oh, Gregory, come on. Seriously? Well, I'll share it. Okay, let's make it a community reading. What does TL need to know right now? Especially in regard about how this can work for all of us. I'm thinking in the Aquarian vibes right now, where I am dissolved into the community, where yes, I am an individual, yes, I have an ego, but we the people is what it's really about. But also, like Path would know, for example, it's really, really important that we do not get lost in the collective. That's very, very dangerous. You end up that ends up as mob rule, mob behavior. That ends up as uncontrolled, complete loss of self-control, loss of power. Okay. Yeah. Usually I can't read. I never read for myself. So what I'll do is I will, okay, this is going to be really weird, but let's just do it for kicks. What does TL need to know right now that could be relevant to, like, the TL community, a TL love tribe, and most especially, I'm going to just say it, like my desire is to have a little place. Well, not a little place, a big place that's highly affordable, where we can actually hang out in person to the point where it actually makes sense to do that. Woohoo! Yeah, thank you. Let's just see what happens, okay? Actually, you know what? We have to commemorate this moment. Let's put it right here. This is for TL. Wow. I never do this. I never read for myself. Maybe I should. I don't know. Let's see. Let's have a look now. What does TL need to know that TL needs to know? Cards are pretty well shuffled. Let's do it again just for the hell of it. Let's bless this deck. Bless every single card. I don't do reversals. I don't do jumpers or flyers. Thank you, dear. Ay-ya-ya. This is weird. Okay. My invisible friends are right here. They're seeing this as a very bizarre kind of golden opportunity party time, okay? That's all I'm telling you, all right? That's what I'm sensing right here. I'm doing a pretty extreme cut. Wow, that is extreme. Okay. All right, here we go. Because I like things to be crystal clear as much as possible. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. What are we going to do going forward? How am I surrounded over here? Look at that. Okay. The way I see it is that no surprise here. This is almost like my day job. Is to try and be a beacon of hope. It's like not only is the energy of hope out there, the energy of, this is a highly Aquarian theme. Like someone's got to do it. Often it's probably mixed up very strongly with the Piscean theme too as well. Again, where someone's got to do it. There's typically not a lot of glory, not a lot of thanks, not a lot of reward. But somebody volunteers, okay? The way I operate the channel, there's very little reward that comes from this channel in terms of like finance, money, fame, glory, power. I do it because I love doing it. And I feel like I have to do it. And that's the job. It's sort of like a little miniature day job, okay? TL the Star. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you. I'll take that. Yes. Hope, okay? It's like, okay, I'm just going to try and interpret it as though I'm not me. Please understand, TL, that you're functioning essentially as a portal for hope, so that the energy of field of hope, the actual vibrational frequency energy of hope, can flow through me. Now, as you know, hope is this energy where you believe in something and you trust in something where there's no evidence to justify it, and you've got nowhere else to go. That's basically what hope is, okay? In other words, hold on, I lost a couple of buttons here. So hope, I live on hope myself. There's almost nothing that's holding me up financially, materially, physically, health-wise. I live on hope. I hope I'm going to be okay. I hope I make it through this day. I hope I get through till tomorrow and tomorrow night. I might not, but I hope I do. I embody the energy of hope, and I accept that card as it's coming out here. As it's like, to me it feels it's like my like a profound duty to me. To instill hope. In other words, where there is no logic, no explanation, no grounding, no facts, no proof. What have you got? There's nothing left? Well, there's hope. That means you believe in love anyway. Okay? What's the situation here? Whoa. Someone's got to do it. King of Wands. Okay? To me, it feels like that King of Wands energy where, when a country is called to rise up and stand your ground, Someone's got to do it. And maybe this is an indication that Illumination has to live by example. For me to be able to be who I am and do what I do, I have to live by example. And I know this looks like a very pompous, glorious depiction of my energy, but I really do try to do this. I try to live by example where I try to be as honorable as I can, and I try to live by example such that, like, if I can do it, you can do it. There's nothing superior about this. It's just an energy field, okay? Thank you, yeah. Being prepared to stand your ground. Body, mind, heart, and soul. Put your freaking heart and body into it, TL. It's time to stand your ground. Well, that's luckily what I feel like I'm trying to do. What are the problems here? It's hard to do. Okay, I feel like I'm being seriously tested. Okay? Because it's actually pretty hard to do this on a daily basis when there's almost literally nothing to prove it or support it. How do you maintain, how do any of us maintain our dignity, our honor, our self-respect, our courage, our pride, our hope when there's tremendous resistance where anything and everything all day, every day is trying to take it down? But guess what? That only makes you stronger. Okay? It's almost like the energy is like, I don't know if I can do it here. It's probably going to get the channel shut down. But there's this song I like. I'm gonna. Where's my guitar? Anyway, it's a song I like. And I do it to cheer myself up. And the song is called, what's it called?
I Get Knocked Down.
Well, that's the song, the chorus line is I Get Knocked Down. But the actual title of the song is called Tub Thumping. And the name of the pop group is called Chumbawamba from many, many years ago. And the chorus line is like, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna let me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna take me down. And so I often chant that to myself to get myself through the day. But it's really cool that there is a pop song with that very chorus line. And the reason they titled it Tub Thumping, it's because it's a war song. It's a marching song to build up your courage when you go to war. And what some people did, they take these very small tin tubs, which is what some people, that's all they had for bathing. In England, there was a lot of deprivation over the centuries. And when they got to the point where they had tin tubs that could be used for bathing, they would put a fire on and heat a load of water, pour it in the tub, and they would stand in the tub or squat in the tub and wash themselves with a towel and some very rudimentary soap. And then they would share that hot water tub with like 3 or 4 other family members. Pretty gross. And then you have to have just a tiny bit of water to rinse off. But those tubs were also used as shields in war. Tub thumping. And so what they would do is they would thump the tubs. They would hold the tub up. Boom, 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 boom. And they would make this thundering war. Tub thumping. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to take me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to take me down. Okay? Anyway, that's what my little 5 of Wands is about here. That's the problem, because it goes on all day, every day. It never stops. It's like I'm constantly having to recharge, revitalize, because the challenges never stop. Okay, how am I going to deal with this? Because sometimes this takes a tremendous toll on the physical body, on the spirit and the mind. Not the soul, but all the others. In order to keep going, how do you keep going in the face of, intense competition or intense opposition? How do you do that? How? Oh, whoa! These are fighting words, people. You speak the truth, you live the truth, you walk the truth, you live the truth. Wow. Okay, this feels like it's a very significant reading for me in such a way. Gregory, thank you for asking me to do this. But I think I want to share this with everybody. I think this is a universal message. Yes, this might be my day job, is to, take up the sword of truth, take up the sword I basically keep going the way I'm doing right now. Communicate the truth, live the truth, live by the truth, live in alignment with universal law, universal truth, and never, ever, ever back down. And the more threatening that things become, let's say the more challenged I become, or let's say the more challenged you become, then this becomes bigger and louder and more powerful and stronger than ever before. In other words, do not dare mess with the truth, okay? Okay. Wow, that was really freakish. I've never done that before. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Cheers. I'm going to let this simmer here for a while, percolate, let the aroma, move through the show, through the channel, through the chat. Thank you very much. So you guys can reinterpret that however you want. Use it for yourselves. You can interpret it however you want about how does this, relate to tarot illumination. Okay, fine. I've done what I can here. I don't want to labor this. I feel like I'm actually quite proud of this reading. It's completely unexpected in the way it plays out here. But I can resonate with that. I think I can get it. Wow. That was actually kind of fun. I have no plans to do that again in the near future. Hopefully not again for a very long time. Thank you, Gregory. It's been a pleasure. Now it's time to unwind and check out. Don't have any more readings. We just did full 3 very extended mini readings. I actually prefer doing it that way, frankly. I know we're doing far fewer readings per show. Remember when I used to do 5, 6, 7, 8 readings per show, and we would do 4 hours or something? The readings were much shorter, much quicker, and the money would pour in through the super chat and the donations. Those were the good old days, but they're gone now. We're entering a new paradigm. Yay! Alright, so I'm just checking the chat for anything last minute here. Okay, we still have a few people hanging out. Okay, well, you all have lives to live. I've got a life to live, and I'd love to stay here for hours more, but my throat, my voice is feeling very tender right now, and I have to protect myself. I have to take care of myself. I have to nurture myself. Love thyself, tarot illumination. Live by your own words, tarot illumination, for Wednesday night. Okay? Because the chances are it's going to be very animated on Wednesday night. I hope we have a lot of visitors, and I will have to be the moderator. I'll have to tell shut up, you've been talking too much. It's time for you to talk, but we'll see what happens. So I hope everybody gets the email. I hope everybody gets the teaser reminder video. I'll do the best I can to make this happen effectively, okay? In the meantime, for now, it's farewell and good night, everybody. It's been a pleasure to read for you all. Now let's do it again, okay? I am going to wrap it up now. Here we go. Take care. Love thyself. It's the hardest thing to do. But you got to do it. No one else can do it better than you.